Hey folks, Jessica here. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Normally I would do a mechanical guide, I would talk about a fight and give you a walkthrough. Today I want to do a purely opinion piece, and I don't usually do those. And don't worry, I'm not going to start doing a lot of those because they have their place, and the place is right now. So I want to do what I'm calling 555. And that stands for 5 things I really love about Granblue Fantasy, because Granblue does some really cool things compared to other gacha games that I really appreciate. 5 things I really hate about Granblue Fantasy, because it does some things worse than other gacha games as well that are really aggravating. And 5 things that I think they could add. These aren't necessarily like groundbreakingly important things, but they'd be nice to have. So let's just jump right into the list. We're going to start with the things I like, because it's always good to start your day of positivity. Number 1, the characters. This is what drew me into Granblue in the first place, and this might be a controversial statement if you're a huge fan of another gacha game franchise, but Granblue Fantasy puts more time and resources into developing all of its characters and giving each and every one of them a visible storyline than any other gacha game franchise I've played. For reference, the ones I've played: Fate Grand Order, Girls Frontline, Azur Lane, Puzzles and Dragons, Underworld Empire, Sino Alice, Princess Connect, Arknights, Fire Emblem Heroes, Love Live, Marvel Puzzle Quest, Magic the Gathering Puzzle Quest, Brave Frontier, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, Honkai 3rd Impact. I've played a ton of gacha games. I've played too many gacha games. And Granblue is unique in this regard. Note, I did not say Granblue's story is better than all of their stories, because that I would not agree is true. Granblue's story has several issues, mostly right now that's all over the place and really slow to develop. But it's also got lower production values by far than something like, say, Honkai 3rd Impact. Its characters, though, all get a very unique treatment compared to those games, in that they each and every one of them get their own set of Fate episodes. If you played the game at all, you know when you recruit a new character, there's a Fate episode that gives you their backstory. It's several episodes, they're all fully voiced, and it lets you know how they join your crew. And if they're like a 5-star character that has like a level 100 Fate episode, well, a level 80 Fate episode to uncap them, and then level 100 to finish their story, then you get to see their whole arc. Like, you get to see their whole storyline as they join your crew and become buddy-buddy with you, and then develop out the conclusion of their story. Additionally, characters that, like, a lot of the characters, like the Eternals, our Karm Invokers, the grindable ones, have many, many, many Fate episodes, in addition to appearing in various events and whatnot. And then, characters that have multiple versions, well, Delaphi is right here. This is her regular version. Her summer version also has her own Fate episodes. Vera has 7 versions, all with their own Fate episodes, because she's Vera, lesbian queen. So Granblue gives their characters a very unique, robust treatment that you don't see in any other gacha game. Like, these things are all voiced, and everyone gets them, from the lowliest R to the most prestigious, like, Zodiac SSR Super Turbo Limited character. That's unique, and if you are a person that enjoys games for the nuances of their characters, Granblue is the place to be. Number 2, the SSR draw rate. I was tempted to put this as my number 1, actually, because Granblue has an extremely generous SSR rate. If you've not played other gacha games, their draw rates are pain and misery and frustration by comparison. Numbers. Granblue has a 3% SSR rate by default. If you're pulling outside of a fest, whenever you pull, you have a 3% chance of getting an SSR. During a fest, it's a 6% chance of getting an SSR. That is astronomically high by comparison. In addition to an already generous rate, it has an extremely generous safety system with sparking. If you didn't know, if you pull 300 times in one banner, you accumulate 300 sparks, and you just pick a character on the banner to get. For comparison, let's look at some other gacha games. Arknights, really popular gacha game. It's a lot of fun, just check it out. Its rate for a 6-star operator is 2%, and there isn't any general rate up. There's no fest. And the safety system there is not nearly as generous as sparking. Effectively, if you keep on pulling a banner and you don't get any 6 stars, it will slowly bump up your chance of getting a 6 star until you get one. But it's not guaranteed to be the one on the banner that you want, especially if it's a multi-operator banner. Additionally, there's a certificate system where you accumulate certificates you can use to get a 6 star, but that's also not guaranteed to be the banner character that you want. There's no way to guarantee get the banner character you want except for just keep pulling until you get it. A game that's even worse in terms of rate, one I love to pick on because its rates are freaking atrocious, is Fate Grand Order. Its 5-star server rate is 1%. And there's no general rate up. And it's not really a safety system. There technically is a safety system, in that if you pull the same 5-star operator like 5 times and you NP5 them, the next time you pull them, you'll get a token. And then if you collect enough tokens, I think it's like 10. I have to double check that. It's been a while. I think it's like 10. You can pick a character. So, perspective. I've been playing Fate Grand Order, FGO, for like 3 or 4 years. Almost as long as I've been playing Granblue. I still don't have a single token. And I have multiple NP5 5-star servants. It's extremely yikes. But Fate Grand Order is not even the worst rate, because a game a lot of people are excited about and that are going to play tomorrow when it comes out, myself included, Genshin Impact, it's a 0.6% 5-star rate. Yeah, 0.6%. Not even 1%. We're into the decimals. And here's the kicker. You can draw weapons or characters on that banner. If you're not played that, like if you're not familiar with that game, it's not like Granblue where you draw a weapon and then get the character. It's weapon or character. It's a 0.6% chance of getting a 5-star, which might not be a character, it might be a weapon. Extremely yikes. So Granblue is very generous. Number 3, raids and systems that encourage teamwork. Granblue has an extremely robust raiding system. Its raids are very complicated, especially when you get into really hard ones, like Lucilius HL. There's a lot of mechanical precision you have to achieve, a lot of learning you have to do in order to get through these fights, and a lot of teamwork that's core to beating these fights. You need to pass it, like if you're doing Lucilius for like the first time, you're going to be talking to people, you're going to be passing each other phalanxes, you're going to be coordinating to beat labors, etc. I can't overstate how important this is, because a lot of other gacha games, you essentially play them in a vacuum. Either there's no interaction with other players, or if there is a co-op system, it's usually fairly brain dead. It's usually not challenging at all. You just overwhelm it with force. That's not really a thing in Granblue as much. And in addition to that, the fact that you have other people that you rely on means everyone's encouraged to become stronger, because you want to be strong enough to help your friends out, to be able to do fights with them, or be so strong that you can carry them. And that is a very core part of the motivational loop that's missing in a lot of other gacha games. Number 4, English support on a Japanese server. Now, if you're a fluent Japanese speaker, or you're a fucking weeb, then that might not seem that important to you. You might just be going, oh, learn Japanese, forehead. Here's the thing, there's 2 problems with that. First one, Granblue is an extremely complex game. Look at all the guides out there about fight mechanics, builds, teams, grids, etc. Imagine how much more complicated it would be if you couldn't read anything. Yes, you could use a translation guide. However, that is one more layer of abstraction, further making the game complex and difficult to understand. Additionally, as I've already said, a lot of the appeal of the game is the character stories. And if you can't read any of them, a lot of appeal is lost right there. I honestly do think a lot of the success of Granblue is the fact that English speakers are supported by default, massively expanding the number of people that can play this game without having to go through some hurdles. The second part of the answer, and I would argue actually the more important one, is because it supports English by default, there's only one server. Look at other games that have multiple regional servers. So Honkai Third Impact, that's the game I'm playing right now. It has like 5 servers. It has the China server, the Japan server, the Southeast Asia server, the global EU server, the global NA server. Here's the thing, some of those servers are dead. If you play on the JP server, which is kind of the meme everyone says is the dead server, not only is it a few updates behind China, it is really low pop. You're going to have a lot of trouble finding a co-op group or a raid group outside of a very narrow sliver of hours. By comparison, the NA server, a very active server, that server you can find a co-op or a raid group any time of day, any day of the week really. You might have to wait a minute, but it's really easy to find a raid group there. So that's what happens when you split your player base up across that many servers. And I honestly think a lot of Granblue systems like Unite and Fight and Raids would not work nearly as well if the player base were split up so much. Number 5, there's effectively no stamina gating in Granblue. You have this AP system, but you restore it with half elixirs, and they give away an astronomical amount of these things, in addition to them being farmable. I have 3,500 half elixirs. The material for joining raids, EP, they come from soul berries, and they give away even more of these soul berries. I have well over 10,000 soul berries and nearly 600 soul bombs. What that means is I can effectively do any fight I want, farm anything I want, join any raids I want, for as long as I want, whenever I want. I have complete freedom to just play the game as long as I want. The thing that's going to stop me is just me getting tired, not me running out of in-game stamina. By comparison, games like FGO, Fate Grand Order, the material you use to restore your AP there are apples, and people will hoard their apples because they're not given away as freely, and people will hoard them for events because you need them in order to be able to fully grind the event. You can restore your stamina after you run out of apples there with your crystals, but that's also your gacha currency, and that's not a feels good. Moreover, games like Princess Connect, yeah, you can restore your stamina there with crystals, but you're actually limited in how many times you can restore your stamina with crystals. So, like, I think it's after 30 times, you're just not able to restore your stamina, and you can't play anymore for the day. And that's a major feels bad as someone that used to play Princess Connect. So the ability to play as much as you want in Granblue is actually a unique thing that people don't really consider that much. So those are 5 things that Granblue does really well. Now let's do the flip side. 5 things that it doesn't do well, that it really needs to work on. The number 1 thing I hate about Granblue Fantasy is the grind. There's a reason people call this Granblue Fantasy. It's absolutely true. You're always on the grind in this game. There's never a point you get to stop. Doesn't matter if you're an early player that's like working on their first Magna Grid, or you're an endgame space whale with 50 exabytes. There's always more you need to grind for. Put in perspective, I've been playing for 4+ years. I'm a bit of a whale. Like, I'm pretty strong, I clear content really fast, I play very aggressively. There's still stuff I'm grinding for just all the time. Even in Dark, like my best element. I still need Team Malice Stabs. I need like 3 full uncapped Team Malice Stabs, and I only have 1 fully uncapped in order to solo Lucilius HL in Dark. Just never freaking ends. In addition to that, not just weapons, like summons obviously, but characters as well. Like, it's a long grind in order to 5-star every single Eternal. And it's an even longer grind to get all the Arcarum evokers in an even nastier place, Arcarum. It's just an endless grind, and it wears you down. It's exhausting. That's why a lot of people burn out and take breaks. It's why I frequently will just disappear for a few months, because I just need a freaking break. Even players that you think would be like able to grind forever, like really endgame players like Ciantrail just put up a video talking about how he was kind of burned out. It's very easy to burn out in this game because it demands daily play from you. it doesn't let you take breaks. Anytime I've ever taken a break and I've come back, I've regretted it because I've come back behind. And this is a double-edged sword kind of thing because there's daily motivation to play. That's good because, like, you always got a reason to log in the game and do something. However, it also means you always have to log into the game and do something, and that is exhausting. And that's not even looking at events that are in and of themselves entirely based on grinding. Unite Fight, the game mode that everyone holds up as, like, the cool competitive mode of Granblue. That's competitive grinding. Unite Fight is 100% competitive grinding. Like, don't get any ideas about it being cooperative and teamwork or skill-based. It's just how hard can you grind for 4 days, 4 or 5 days. That's all it is. And it's exhausting. To be fair, by comparison, how do other gacha games handle it? Well, other gacha games, you usually get to a point in progression where there's not a lot of new things to do. You have acquired as many characters as you want, you've max leveled them, you've max awoken them, whatever. You've gotten all the gear you want. You've done the whole main story, all the side quests, and all the events. You've progressed as much as you can, and then you kind of don't have any new content to do. Well, in those games, that's the point you take a break, and then you come back when, like, a new event drops, or more progression comes out, or new stuff comes out, which it inevitably always does. That can suck for some people if they want to always play all the time, and that's the appeal of Granblue. There's always something more to do. But honestly, the thing is, I like being able to take regular breaks now and then and not regret them. In Granblue, you really have a lot of trouble taking a break without regretting it. And the alternative to being able to take a break because you don't have any new content to do is you burn out. You grind shit until the point where you're just sick of the game, and then instead of taking a short break until the next content drop, you take like a year off or more. That's certainly what's happened to me at several points, and to a lot of people, to be frank. So, I think Granblue needs to just back off a little bit with the amount of stuff it wants you to grind. Number 2 thing I don't like about Granblue, I almost said Granblue, 30-man crews. That might seem like a weird one, but hear me out. Usually the people you talk to most in Granblue are going to be your crew members. You're going to be on Discord with them, you'll chat with them, and they'll be like your friend group you hang out with all the time. Here's the issue. If you have more than 30 people you want to hang out with, well, you're shit out of luck, because anyone that's not already in the crew can't fit. Additionally, maybe you have more like 10 people you want to regularly hang out with, but there's like already 25 people in the crew, and maybe like 15 of them are lurkers you don't talk to anyway. Then that sucks, because then 5 of your friends can't hang out all the time. And I know from experience that if people aren't directly in your crew, it's harder to regularly hang out with them, because a lot of crews don't like it if people who aren't actually in the crew are hanging out and chat all the time. And a lot of people who aren't in a crew aren't comfortable hanging out in a crew chat that they're not part of. Like, it's very awkward. By comparison, Honkai Third Impact, been playing that a lot recently, as I've said. The armadas in that, which are the equivalent of the crew, it's 180 people. That's pretty much as much room as you're gonna need to have friends hang out with. So honestly, I really wish Granblue would consider some kind of system where you could expand beyond 30-man crews, because 30-man, very, very limited number, especially if you're in a competitive crew, by the way. If you're in a competitive crew, every one of those slots is going to be fought for. There's going to be like strict requirements for adding people. So like your friends might not be able to come hang out because they're not as endgame. Whereas if you're a 180-person crew, then it's not going to matter as much if like a couple of your friends want to hang out, but they're more casual. So that's a thing they could work on. The main issue is Unite and Fight. The way Unite and Fight is set up, it's competitive grinding, so every person matters, every piece of headcount matters. Every single person that can do the fights and push that score up matters. So they would have to change how United Fight works in order to make bigger crews. And they should change how United Fight works. Because, oh man, United Fight. I wasn't going to put on the list, but since we're already talking about it, let's do a 2.5 United Fight. I fucking hate United Fight. United Fight might be interesting to you. It's like your first one or your second one, and you're fairly new. But if you've been playing for 4 years, these things happen like every month or two, and they're a grind. They're just competitive grinding. They're just a hellacious grind. I mean, think about it. It's one crew gets pitted against another crew, and then every time any one of those crews kill a boss, their score goes up, and whoever has a high score at the end wins. That's just competitive grinding. There's no skill involved. I mean, let's not even field that argument. It's just who has stronger teams and is willing to grind for longer than the other player. It's just this endurance grind. And whenever United Fight rolls around, it's like, ugh, when will this week be over? And that's a bad look for the game. Like, having to repeatedly do something that's miserable is not a good gameplay loop. So that's really something they should address. And I don't think I'm alone in this. Even players that score really high, like top 70k players, all pretty much say that United Fight's not a fun experience. There's so many other things it could be that I think would be interesting, because I do think having a competitive element of the game is important, because the competitive element is what motivates people to get strong, so you can beat up the other crew, so you can show off, so you can flex how good your grid is. Why United Fight? It's like crews battling. Why isn't it like it could be a PvP thing? You could just be invading the other players' airships and just burning down their airships. You board the other team's airship and try and burn it to the ground. That would be dope. Or it could be something that's skill-based, like a really hard boss fight, and whatever team can beat the boss first, as opposed to just score-based and who can grind longer and harder. It's a big problem. I think they need to do something about it. And I honestly think they know that, because they keep on trying to tweak it and add various things, but they've never actually fully committed to a significant change to it. In 4 years. United Fight today is essentially the same thing as it was when the game first had a United Fight. It's a big problem. Number 3 thing I hate about Granblue Fantasy is time-gated content with no catch-up mechanic. That sounds specific because it is. I am mostly talking about Arcarum. There are other things that this also covers, but we're just going to focus on Arcarum. What I mean here are these stupid passports. These are Arcarum passports. You get 1 a day. You get 2 a day if it's during a fest. And you need these to run these various branches of Arcarum in order to get materials to unlock the Evokers, some of the strongest characters in the game. There's a few issues here. There's a cap on the number you can hold. I believe these days the cap is default 30. Someone let me know down below. It's been a long time since I've been at the default cap, so I don't remember what it is. Mine is 90 because I specifically spent Arcarum points to upgrade my capacity. And, by the way, if you didn't know, when this first came out, the cap was like 5. So this applies to way more people than you might think it does. But any passport you acquire beyond the cap, poof, it's just in the wind. It's gone forever. You're never getting it back. It's just progression that is lost to the annals of time. That's a major issue, because if you take a break and like these things stack up and you're just not logging in to clear your Arcarum, then that's just progression. You're permanently behind, further making it difficult to take a break. In addition, if you're a new player, if you only just unlocked Arcarum, woe betide you, because you might have like 2 Arcarum tickets. Well, you're like 500, 600, however many Arcarum tickets have come out since the beginning of Arcarum behind everybody else that has been playing since then. You're literally years worth of progression behind other players. And then, on top of that, if you've been grinding Arcarum inefficiently, some people are gonna squirm when I say this, but if you have been using Fast Expedition regularly, you're also behind, because Fast Expedition gives you far less rewards than manually grinding Arcarum, and manually grinding Arcarum sucks. See the Granblue Fantasy thing. But yeah, if you've been using Fast Expedition a lot, 1, Stop that. And two, yeah, no, it sucks because you're gonna be a lot of materials behind other people. Now, if a card were a thing where like you grind for a few months and then you get all the Vokers and then you're good to go, you've caught up, then that'd be fine. But here's the thing: it takes a ton of Arcarum, like literally hundreds of runs, in order to get evokers. They take so much time. It's not that like the race is over and like a lot of people have gotten all the evokers and you'll catch up in like a year. No, no, my friend. It's gonna be a long time before you catch up. The race for most people is not over. Because it just takes so long, it takes so many runs. You're going to be feeling those lack of tickets for years to come. It sucks. And if this sounds dramatic, well, let's take a concrete example. Let's say it was 3 months before Fire Unite Fight, because I imagine this did happen to some people. One of the key characters in a lot of the Fire Unite Fight teams was Alanon, because Alanon is one of the strongest characters in Fire right now. Thing is, if you're like 3 months out from the United Fight and you don't have any progress towards making Alanon, you're probably shit out of luck. 3 months worth of tickets, even if there's a fest, probably isn't enough time to get all the materials you would need to build Alanon. And that's because it's a time gate with no catch-up mechanics. There's just no way to catch up in time, even if you started immediately. So that's an issue. By the way, Dark Unite Fight coming up. If you haven't already started working on Nier, you should probably start working on Nier. I'm not saying she's going to be key for the Dark Unite Fight, but if she is, and you don't have her, well, that's going to not be feels good. Number 4 thing that irritates me about Granblue, and I say irritates because I don't hate it. It's not that big a deal, but it does bug me. Some people are going to disagree with me on this, but it's my list, so whatever. There are a lot of useless events that come out in this game. Like, for example, where is this idiot? Like this one. There are always some random story point that you might or might not care about. And in my case, this is a hard don't give a shit. I have no idea who these people are. With like a character like this, and it's like, who are you? I have no idea who this is, nor do I care to find out. How did you even get on my ship, by the way? Someone call the enforcers and throw this idiot off my ship. That's how I feel about these usually. And story aside, the rewards for them are super mediocre usually. That's not to say reruns. Reruns of events give Arca points. And they're actually one of the few places you can kind of catch up on progress for Arcarum, though it's not really catching up because someone that's been keeping up can still do this and grind Arca points, by the way, so it's not technically a catch-up. But yes, the rewards on these usually suck. Like, there are usually some mats that will only matter if you're very new, and they're usually like a bad SR, a bad SSR, and a bad summon. Very pointless stuff. The thing that's usually the one that people care about are the Damascus crystals, but they only add 3 Neo Damascus crystals per one of these. I have 29 left because I've skipped a bunch of these, and that's just the catch-up mechanic for getting Damascus crystals. By the way, that is literally a catch-up mechanic right there. Where is this for Arcarum? Just saying, while we're on that topic. So yeah, you might think, well, Jessica, if you don't like the event, just don't do it, or just get your Damascus crystals and move on, which is what I do, in fact. Why does it bother you so much? Because its resources pulled away from other places in the game. Like, this stuff is not free. Like, it's all voiced, there's story that's written, there's new characters, art that's made, there's new fights that are built, there's new weapons and summons, there's a ton of shit that's added for all these. And it bothers me because they add these all the time, where instead they could be adding stuff to the core loop of the game that's compelling, that actually matters. Like, they could be adding Magna 4 raids, they could be adding the 5-star Primal uncaps, like other things could be worked on instead of this shit. Additionally, like, you know, things like Rough Card Sandbox coming out in November. If they didn't have the resources to spend on this stuff, then maybe it could come out in, like, you know, September instead. Like, this stuff is not free. All development takes time, so you kind of want all development to have some level of mass appeal to people, and I don't think these things have that. Number 5 thing that bugs me about Granblue. this is going to be a sensitive one for some of you because I am positive some of you have made bad decisions with these, but there are so many things gated behind gold bricks, it's ridiculous. What takes a gold brick? Well, getting an Eternal, recruiting them takes 1 gold brick. 5-starring them takes another gold brick, and 5-star is pretty much a thing you have to do to make them meta useful. By the way, that's only if you 40 box Unite and Fight in order to get the maps. If you decide to make both Revenant weapons, which some people used to do pretty commonly, that takes 3 gold bars per Eternal. In addition to that, there's also Dark Opus weapons. To 5-star and cap them, they also take a gold bar as well. And I would argue that's even more important than getting your Eternals, because the Dark Opus weapons are extremely powerful grid pieces. So let's do a count. Let's assume best case, you only use 2 gold bars per Eternal. So there's 10 Eternals, so it's 20 gold bars. Now there's 12 Dark Opus weapons, but most people are only going to make one of the 2 for each element, either the Primal or Magna one. So 6, so it's 26 gold bars in the best case. In the worst case, that's 42 gold bars. So where are they from? Well, they're most often gotten from Rise of the Beast. You trade gold nuggets or the new currency that they added. There's some problems there as well, but let's not talk about that right now. You trade for them from Rise of the Beast. And there's a finite supply. There's not 26 gold bars you can trade for. Certainly not 42. In addition to that, you can also get them from Unite and Fight. So when you get Valor badges from doing well in Unite and Fight, you can spend them to get gold bars. However, they're also competing with Sunstones, which is usually the pick most people do for the Unite and Fight badges. In addition to that, they're also competing now with Evolite, which you need for the Arcarum Evokers. And then beyond that, you can kind of farm them. Proto Bahamut HL has an okay chance of dropping one. I think it's like 3% chance dropping one on the host chest, but you can only host Proto Bahamut HL once a day. And by the way, you should host that every single day and make sure people clear it, because that's gonna be one of the few static sources of gold bars if you've already expended your Rise of Beast supply. Additionally, if you're very strong, stress on very strong, you can try and farm them from Grand Order HL and Akasha HL. It's a 0.2% drop rate and a 0.3% drop rate off of a blue chest, respectively, from those fights. That's only going to be an option if you're very endgame and you're very strong. Primarily in Dark, but other elements can do it as well. But that's neither here nor there. So let's look at the best case. 0.3% from Akasha. So that's 300 blue chests. 300 runs, which are not really a walk in the park either. 300 runs to mathematically get a gold bar. That's a lot of farming to get these things. And these things are used in so many things. And they keep adding things that they're used in. I would be very surprised if these don't end up being a gate for 6-star Eternals as well. And, I mean, you can also uncap weapons with these. Like, at a certain point, after you've gotten everything, that's kind of what you want these for. But, man, so many things require these, and they're so hard to get for the average player. I have a surplus of them because I do Proto Bomb and HL pretty much every day, and I do a lot of Akasha and Grand Order HL. So, like, for me, they're not as much of a gate. But for the average player, they're a huge gate. And once you've acquired as many as you can from Rise of the Beast, really, the only way to get them for the average player is going to be the mercy of Cygames' generosity. They give away like one of these a year usually, so they're pretty scarce. So I would like to see them stop relying on gold bars to be the major gate. Also, this is kind of a 5.5, but I hate that like there's no safety here for a newer player who doesn't know what they're doing. Because, yes, you can use these to uncap weapons, but that is rarely what you want to use these for, unless you're very endgame and you've gotten 42 plus gold bars and you don't need them anymore for anything. In which case, you still hoard them just in case they add something. But, yeah, if you're very endgame, then sure, you can use these uncap weapons. But a new player, that's a terrible idea. I know tons of new players that use these to uncap just random terrible gacha weapons, and that's a major feels bad because they're so rare. So gold bars need to be more easy to get. There needs to be some safety in here for new players, and they need to be not a gate for everything, it feels like. So we've talked about 5 things I like about Granblue, 5 things I hate about Granblue. Let's talk about 5 things I'd like to see added. None of these on their own are a huge deal. In fact, most of them are just quality of life things. But there are some things I think Granblue could add that would mean a lot. One of them is I would love the ability to set one of my own summons as my support summon. So, classic example of this. I play Primal Wind, so Zephyrus. Note that there are no Zephyruses in my friends list, which is a common occurrence. I have a second Zephyrus. I would love to be able to just use my own Zephyrus as my support. Even more common one, Quillin. Quillin is my typical Misk tab support for a lot of farming. For Akasha, I use Quillins all the time. For like Blue Low, it's Quillin. Quillin's very commonly used for me. It's only like 3 in my list, and only one of them's a friend. The other ones are just randos with Quillins. I have more than one Quillin MLB. I would love to be able to just set my own support summon. Lots of games let you do this. Fate Grand Order, Puzzles and Dragons, they let you subset your own stuff as your support. Feels like Granblue should let you as well. So, number 2 thing they should add, and this is going to be a spicy one for some folks, but I'm going to say it. They should add 5-star Primal summons. We're overdue. Here's the thing. They added 5-star Magna summons a few months ago, and what that has done is, because there's only a 4-star Primal summon, it's allowed Magna to catch up in some elements and even surpass Primal in some elements. So examples, Wind. Wind's always had this issue where Magna Wind was very competitive, if not better than Primal Wind. There's a reason why there's almost no Zephyruses in my friends list. Not a lot of people go Primal Wind. And right now, Wind's really suffering because of it. Because Magna Wind is very strong compared to Primal Wind. Even Earth from the last United fight. Especially if you're running Highlander, which a lot of people are because of Kame. Highlander Magna Earth is better in a lot of ways than Primal Highlander Earth. It's not better than Primal Earth if you're talking like a whale grid, like a Primal grid in Earth that's got like 4 Ichigo Heater Furies, etc. The Turbo Whale grid is still going to be stronger than Magna Primal Earth. But that's the Turbo Whale grid. You've got to go that hard in order to surpass a Magna player. And the issue of that is Magna's typically meant to be the entry-level, grindable, free-to-play option, and the aspiration is work towards like getting a primal grid put together, and luck sacking, I guess, a primal summon. So that's an issue. It's a major feels bad for a lot of people that play Primal. For me, I'm just not that invested at this point. I know that I know the game fluctuates in terms of balance over the course of years, and it's going to correct itself in probably a few months. But I have some people that have worked very hard on getting Primal grids together, and like they're super bummed out because like they feel like their time's not been well spent. And here's the thing, not everyone that plays Primal is a whale, because remember, you get free resources, and a lot of people do legitimately save crystals and spark and pull and draw stuff and use Damascus and put together legitimately solid otherwise Primal grids without whaling. It's not a free play versus whale thing. It's whether or not your time investment and your resource investment, and frankly, if you are a whale, the money you put in, whether that's worth it. So yeah, it's overdue. Like I said, I'm not too miffed about it because it will happen. Like, there's no question. Like, this is how it's gone in the past. Magna gets their uncap, they catch up with Primal. Primal gets their uncap, they shoot way the hell ahead of Magna again, and then the wheels on the bus go round and round, and we just keep on going. So, if you're one of the people that's super miffed about this, don't worry about it too much. It will correct itself. It'll just take a few months. But yes, I'm going to put the call out here because it is a thing that needs to happen. Number 3 is a potentially controversial one as well. And this isn't something Granblue necessarily does wrong. I just would like to see more of it. And that is positive, fully acknowledged LGBT representation. Granblue is way better about this than other gacha games and anime franchises. Look at you, Fate Grand Order. Because there's characters like Vera. Vera loves Catalina. She has said that on screen. This is the axis by which pretty much all their interactions play out in all their Fate episodes and in the various events and other characters' Fate episodes they show up in. So this is great representation. I would just like to see more of it, because you also have plenty of characters that are heavily implied to be romantically interested in each other, but it's all subtext. It's all hidden away behind a layer of deniability where it's like, oh no, they're just friends. Like that kind of shit. They have that potential excuse. Like Vayne and Lancelot, just to give a boys example. Like, this is Vayne's uncap art. It's heavily implied that him and Lancelot are romantic, but it's hidden behind this layer where you'll be like, nah, they're just bros, man. They're just bros. It's bros doing bro things, like kissing. So that's the issue, because in anime, it's extremely common for there to be same-sex pairings that are entirely subtext. Like tons of shit in the game, in the show, imply that they are a couple. A lot of their interactions are way more romantically tinged than like you would have with a person that you're not romantically interested in, but they're hidden behind a level of plausible deniability. If you've literally ever said that, oh, they're just friends, then you've fallen right into the subtext trap, where they try and provide something that panders to the LGBT community without actually really providing representation, because they want people to be able to deny it so they don't get in trouble with people who hate that shit. So it's an issue. Granblue is better about it than most games, because characters like Vera do say they love Catalina. Yule has literally said that she loves Sochette. That's literally a thing that's been said. So like, there is some actual like upfront representation, but they could be better about it. And the game is way better than say Fate Grand Order. Fate Grand Order, there's kind of this thing where every single character is implied to be bisexual because they all have to be like responsive to the main character who can be either gender. And that shit is not representation. That shit's just lazy. So, moving on. The number 4 thing I'd like them to add is Battle System 2.0 for all fights. And yes, I understand that would be a huge undertaking, and it will break some fights. Like, that is a thing that will happen. However, I think it would be worth it, because it's very weird that some fights use the old battle system and some fights use the new battle system. And if you've done Battle System 2.0 fights a lot, you started really appreciating some of the nuances here that feel very noticeably absent when you go back. Stuff like being able to click on the charge check and seeing exactly what it does. So like this one, the incoming attack's going to be 250% earth damage to my allies, and I can't all elemental damage cut it. I can't phalanx it. That's useful information to know. Whereas if I'm doing a normal battle system, I guess 1.0 fight, I would just get destroyed by that if I try to phalanx it. And then the ability to guard, and guarding is obviously going to be the thing that breaks a lot of Battle System 1.0 fights, because a lot of fights aren't meant to deal with it. But that clarity of information is really missing in Battle System 1.0. So I think they do need to do the work and update everything. Stuff like Fated Chain, like this should be consistent across all fights. It shouldn't just be randomly for a few fights. So that's what I think on that. Wow, why does Granblue look really different all of a sudden? Well, we're not in Granblue, we're in Honkai 3rd Impact. And we're here because for my number 5 thing I think they should add to Granblue, I wanted to show off the dorm. So, dorms are a common mechanic in a lot of other gacha games, and typically they're like a base or a series of rooms or a house that you can decorate and have all your characters hang out in. So all the furniture here in this cute-ass room are from either like events or gacha, or like you can craft a lot of stuff, and you have all the characters hang out here and talk and just be cute. And there's a bunch of different rooms also. So here's this little bedroom with a bunch of kitty furniture and stuff. And then this is where my characters hang out and like work out and like do actual work things. And like if I wanted, I could like grab May here. Wow, that was gay, Kiana. She was talking about May just there, her girlfriend. So we're gonna put them on the couch together. And you have two characters, you're gonna put them together, they'll talk to each other, they'll hang out, they'll just be cute AF. In addition to that, there's a lot of mechanical things that go on here. This comfort rating makes my character stronger and whatnot. And this would be a fantastic freaking fit for Granblue because Granblue has the airship. It has the Grand Cipher. And like, could you imagine being able to decorate your airship and have your characters hang out chatting like this? It would be very... Kiana's so freaking gay. I just can't get over it. She keeps on saying gay things about May. It's ceaseless. She's so gay for May. She is always the most important girl in my art. Okay, I'm getting distracted. But yes, this would be amazing in Granblue. So let's move on. I think they should add a dorm. Back to safety, back to things we recognize, back to Granblue Fantasy. By the way, if you would be interested in me doing an overview of other gacha games I play, so like Honkai 3rd Impact or well Genshin Impact since it comes out tomorrow, let me know. I'd be happy to like do a brief video on all the things I play. I'm trying to figure out if that would actually be well received or no one would watch it. So let me know down below. But yes, this has been 555. 5 things I love about Granblue Fantasy, 5 things I hate about Granblue Fantasy, and 5 things I'd like to see them add to Granblue. I get some of the ads are big ass, like Battle System 2.0 for everything, the dorm obviously, but honestly on the dorm I'm surprised they haven't done it already. Like, the game seems to be structured in a way that encourages the addition of a dorm, like the whole airship thing that you all apparently live on. It's a giant airship apparently. And it's so common in other gacha games, like Girls Frontline, Azur Lane, Honkai Impact, obviously, Arknights, ton of other games have it. So I'm surprised it's not there, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did eventually add something like that. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. If you agree or disagree with any of my 15 points, give me a comment. I'd be happy to have a discussion. And if you've enjoyed a more strictly opinion-based video, then yeah, also let me know that. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!